Guys, be careful when you're taking selfies. There's so many dangerous situations you can get into while, looking at your phone out in the open.
Bit of a lesson.
Be careful.
Starting off our list today with a volcano selfie to die for. Literally. Earlier this week, a woman died in Indonesia while trying to take a photo on the edge of an active volcano, Mount Ijen in East Java, known for its iconic blue flames. The 31-year-old woman named Huang Lihong had joined her husband on a sunrise hiking tour of the volcano. When the pair reached the summit, she wanted to commemorate the moment, but before the picture could be snapped, Huang slipped and fell directly into the volcano's crater. She died on impact after falling 75 feet into the mouth of Ijen.
One time you should absolutely never take a selfie is while flying a plane, but that's exactly what happened in 2014, leading to the deaths of both men on board. On May 31st, 2014, a 29-year-old pilot named Amrital Singh was flying over Colorado with one passenger, a musician who'd been in town for a show. He'd been taking photos and selfies with his GoPro, which was found at the crash site. There didn't appear to be anything wrong with the plane, so it looked like he'd been distracted, leading to the accident. He likely developed spatial disorientation, lost control of the plane, which went into a stall and spun before crashing into a wheat field down below. On top of these selfie distractions, it looked like Singh hadn't been trained to deal with stalls. His logbooks also didn't show he'd been qualified to fly at night with passengers.
Next up, we have a caddy selfie that almost cost the life of a 30-year-old woman at an Arizona zoo. The incident took place in 2019 when the woman, whose name was not released by the zoo in an effort to protect her identity, decided to sneak inside the barrier of the Jaguar cage in order to get a selfie. After making it past the barrier, the woman walked over to the small fence, which was now all that separated herself from the massive animal. As she raised up the arm holding her phone, her other arm was swiped by the jaguar and slashed almost right open. The woman can be seen in a video after the incident rolling around in extreme pain, screaming and crying as the zoo staff attempt to attend to her injuries. Luckily, the event didn't prove to be fatal, just incredibly painful. The woman did later reach out to the zoo and apologize for her actions and for the backlash the zoo had been receiving since the incident. I really hope she learned her lesson, because that whole situation could have gone way worse.
Texting and driving is bad enough, but taking a selfie while driving, that's pure recklessness. And in this case, it led to the death of an innocent cyclist. In August of 2014, Matthew Kelly Strand faced charges of negligent homicide in Steele County District Court after a tragic incident. The North Dakota Highway Patrol investigated a collision that resulted in the death of Lisa Knudsen, a cyclist from Portland. Strand had been distracted taking a selfie right before the collision. The selfie was taken at 6:48 p.m. and then analysis of his pickup truck's data showed that he veered over the fog line and rumble strip and failed to brake before colliding with Knudsen, who was riding her bike right ahead of him. Strand first claimed he was distracted by a nearby vehicle and people at a farm, but there was no real confirmation of this. He also admitted to deleting photos from his phone. In defense, Strand's mother argued that Knudsen had shared some responsibility, saying that she'd been biking in a lane instead of on the shoulder, which she deemed was a stupid place to cycle.
Next up, a young couple who took a fatal fall after attempting to capture an adventurous photograph for their Instagram feed. Meenakshi and Vishnu loved to travel, and they loved to document their travels as well, and their trip to Yosemite was no different. The couple climbed up to the top of Taft Point in the national park before setting up their tripod over the high cliff. The photo snapped, and then moments later the couple fell 800 feet down the steep side of the cliff. Their bodies were found days later after tourists had noticed their abandoned camera equipment and alerted the park authorities, who warned other park goers of the dangers of standing on the edges of cliffs in areas that experience such strong winds.
Next up, we have the grenade. In January of 2015, in the Ural Mountains of Russia, two hikers came across a grenade. They didn't know that it was still alive. The men decided to take a selfie posing posing with it, pin pulled out and it went off, killing them instantly. The phone with the picture was left intact. But this isn't the only time someone has died in Russia trying to take a picture with unexploded ordnance, especially a grenade. In 2017, a man named Alexander Chechnik sent a picture to several friends of a grenade he was holding with the pin pulled out. The grenade ended up going off, taking out his entire lower body. Police suspected he'd done it as a stunt, planning to reinsert the pin, but just wasn't able to in time.
Next up, we have an incident that took place in 2018 involving a man, a camera, and a bear spotted on the side of the road. On his way home from a wedding, Prabhu Batara spotted an injured bear on the side of the road in India. He stopped the car and hopped out despite warnings of danger from his fellow passengers. Phone camera in hand, he cautiously approached the wounded animal. First mistake. He got closer until he was within arm's length of the animal. Second mistake. The bear struck Prabhu and a fight broke out between the two. At one point, a stray dog stepped in to protect the man from the bear, but it didn't help and Prabhu died before forest rangers could arrive at the scene. In a public statement released by one of the rangers, it was stated that the man had died on the spot, but that the bear was being treated for its injuries.
Alright, word to the wise, do not attempt to climb into animal enclosures at the zoo, especially not with lions, and especially not just to snap a picture of yourself. Yes, this is another animal case. This next story just happened in February of this year. A 38-year-old man at a zoo in India climbed over the fence around the lion enclosure in order to get a picture with the creatures, and guess what happened? He was immediately attacked by one of the lions and lost his life. The incident happened at a zoo in Andhra Pradesh. A worker had actually told the man not to climb the fence, but the guy tried anyway and made it over and into the enclosure this time. Before the caretaker had any time to react, one of the three lions, named Donglapur, pounced on the man and mauled him to death. Now, of course, this is a very unfortunate and sad case. I think the man was under the influence too, but still, I wouldn't think anyone would need to hear this, but apparently some need the reminder. Wild animals are dangerous. Don't invade on their space. Nothing good will come of it. And what sucks in situations like this is that the animals end up usually having to pay the price too, even though they're just defending themselves out of fear.
Next up, we have a 21-year-old man who died in Mexico City after attempting to capture an impressive snapshot. Prior to his death, Oscar Otero had been known to post photos to his Facebook, posing next to what he described as impressive items. But unfortunately for Oscar, in 2014, the impressive item he chose just so happened to be a loaded handheld weapon. After a long night of drinking with friends, he pulled out his camera and began posing with the item in the hopes of getting a cool photo for his Facebook feed. Okay, I'm sorry, but I would literally unfriend someone so fast if they posted something like that on their timeline. During his attempt to capture the image, Oscar was playing with ways to hold the weapon when all of a sudden it went off. A neighbor heard the sound and called police, who arrived on the scene while Oscar was still alive, but unfortunately on the way to the hospital, the young man did die of his injuries.
Some of the most common causes of death while taking selfies are falls, drowning, and accidents with trains. This next incident is one of the latter. A 22-year-old man in Serbia lost his life while attempting to recreate a scene from his favorite movie, Barking at the Stars. He had the idea of running in front of a train, aiming to beat it and be celebrated as a hero, mirroring a scene from the film. But as he dashed in front of the train, he also tried to take a selfie to capture the moment, and sadly the high-speed train struck him with full force. The impact was fatal and he was killed instantly.
There's a long list of lessons for you.
Yes, I think it's easy for people too to look at stuff like this and be like, oh, that's so dumb. People make mistakes.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, yeah, you gotta watch out.
Yeah. You just gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful.
You know, live life, be safe, watch Most Amazing Top 10.
I've been your host, James.
I've been your host, Hannah.
We'll catch you in the next one.
Yes, we will.